ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भाम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् आचार्यपर्यन्ताम् गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं कर्वावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Good morning, everybody.
Om Namah Shivaya.
So we are on the 17th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, verse number 15, which we will chant. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan
Bhagavan
Anudvegakaram Vakyam
Anudvegakaram Vakyam
Satyam Priyahitam Chayat
Satyam Priyahitam Chayat
Swadhyayabhyasanam Chaiva
Svadhyayabhyasanam Chaiva
Angamayam Tapa Uchyate.
Angamayam Tapa Uchyate.
So we had finished with the Priyam part, and before we go to the next one, which is Hitam, what is the difference between Anudvegakaram and Priyam? Is there a difference at all?
Yeah, Anudvigakaram means we do not initiate anything which may harm emotionally to others, whereas Priyam means we try to speak only good.
Okay, very good. So one is in the term of negative, in the sense that you don't hurt anybody else.
Yes.
And other is the term of positive, in the sense you try to make him feel good. It's a subtle one, but both are necessary. Then we look at the next one, Hitam. Hitam means what is beneficial to the person who is listening, right? So what is beneficial to the listener should be talked about. And therefore, the best communication, remember, is that in which both the one who talks and the one who listens are blessed, are beneficiaries, right? Therefore, Hitam is a very beautiful concept. It's a gift which is twice blessed because the giver benefits and the receiver also benefits. This is called Uttama communication. Uttama speaking. What about Madhyama speaking? Madhyama speaking is. I will just mute everybody. Okay. What about Madhyama speaking? Madhyama speaking is when the speaker talks. Therefore, the benefit accrues only to the speaker. He is not bothered about whether the person is understanding or not. Right. So there is a let us say Shastric teaching where the listener benefits because it is Shravanam for him. And the speaker also benefits because
it's Nididhyasanam.
Nididhyasanam for him. Therefore, both benefit. Therefore, Uttama communication. It is excellent communication. Communication of the highest order because both are benefiting. Now, if there is somebody who is just talking, I mean, let us say the same thing. Acharya is talking, but he is not really bothered. He uses all complex words. He tries to show off his understanding. It is definitely benefiting him. But the person who's listening may not understand at all. He's not bothered. Okay. So that is the Madhyama communication. And the Adhama communication, the lowest form, is where neither the speaker nor the listener benefit. So can you think of any kind of talk which falls under that?
Arguments.
When you're fighting. When you fight with your husband.
Not looking fights with you, right? That's different. No, I'm thinking things like gossip mongering,
Hmm.
fake news,
Right.
present all this benefit neither person. And Shankara, of course, here in his commentary, he says that both will generate Drishtaphalam as well as Adrishtaphalam. What are they? Priyam Vakyam, the words which are pleasing to others, definitely gives Drishtaphalam, which is what? Joy to the listener. He feels nice. And it gives Adrishtaphalam, Punyam to the speaker. Why? Because he has made the other person feel good. Similarly, Hitam Vakyam, it gives Drishtaphalam, benefit to the listener. And because the speaker is speaking, let us say, from the Shastram, it gives Punyam to the speaker. So, Priyam Vakyam and Hitam Vakyam, Shankara says, both will give Drishtaphalam as well as Adrishtaphalam. Both are very blessed words. And Shankaracharya writes further that all these four are mandatory conditions for austerity in speaking, for Vak Tapaha. Now, we can have an objection here, right? How can I always speak pleasing words when it may be for somebody else's benefit, right? For example, you may be criticizing your relative, children, brother, sister, and of course, nowadays, husbands and wives constantly criticize. But let us say it is not a criticism for criticism's sake, but it's a criticism for pointing out that the way in which something is done is wrong. Therefore, it is hitam, right? Or it may be satyam, not hitam, because hitam means benefit of others. What happens when you have to criticize somebody for his own benefit? What is the way you should approach? Because remember that the in this case, the satyam, the fact which you are talking about is apriyam. It is not pleasing to the person hearing it. And hitam, it is beneficial for him. But this hitam is apriyam. It is not pleasing to the person hearing it. How do you approach this particular problem? And this is a regular problem, not only in relationships, especially father children or mother children. Wherever there's a position of authority in which there is a family bonding also, even friendships, you know, this problem is always there. How do you criticize somebody without the words violating Vaktapaha?
Om sir, you had spoken about communication. Like you would ask someone in your office to, first you would approach them and give them their what they have done well. So like that, if it's a child or a person, you first appreciate and then you put forward what is the correction or what you would think is right to do.
Okay. So the
The
general rule
idea
is,
is to,
yeah, please go ahead.
yeah, the idea is to, point out what went wrong rather than who went wrong
Very good.
in a
You
given
have to point out
situation.
what went wrong and how it could have been done better.
Yeah,
But the problem is, that when you point out what went wrong, the person normally will take it as
Did
you are
it?
pointing out who went wrong,
Yeah, who went wrong?
right? So that's very dicey situation.
So
So one way,
is it the tone that we're talking about? It is how you say it more important than what
that
you
is definitely there, but there are some people whom you cannot criticize at all. Whatever, however nicely you put it, they will take it as a criticism.
Oh, then it's the person's problem.
So the problem is this only, you first of all, one rule is that you praise in public, criticize in private. That's the first rule. And whenever you have to criticize, first of all, what is the first rule you should follow? Do you have that right or not?
Yeah.
right? Which most of us ignore. Very few people have the right. A parent has the right for a minor child. A teacher has the right for a student. A husband does not have the right. Do you agree?
But if it's an important domestic matter where the
Husband
husband,
does not have the right to criticize. But on the other hand, the ladies will say, but wives have unlimited rights in this matter. Right? Wives can always criticize. Does this happen?
No.
Okay, fine. We'll grant it to you. But the thing is that when you criticize, if you have to criticize, you first, as I said, talk about the good parts. You know. Secondly, keep it short. Keep it short to the point and don't make a, essay out of it. Don't make a project out of it. Say what you have to say. Say this is what went wrong. This is how it can be corrected. So precede that by talking about the good points of a person. And once you have said what you have to say, again talk about the good parts of the person. So it's like applying butter on both sides of the bread before eating it. And let me remind you, this kind of uh, process does not happen by chance. You have to practice again and again and again because the normal reaction is to criticize without thinking of the person. And in his commentary, Shankaracharya knows this is a very, very difficult exercise. So he gives an example of Vaktapas. It's in Sanskrit. I will translate for you. So he says, Shanto Bhavavatsaha. Please don't get upset. Shanto Bhava. Please be Shantaha. Vatsaha is the person, child or whatever, right? So this is Anudvigakara, right? Please don't upset. And Swadhyaya Yogam Anutishtaha. You ask him to do karma, and sadhana is priyam. So asking him to do karma, therefore it is priyam. Now is priyam and hitam later also. So there should be satyam. All the four conditions should be fulfilled, right? Priyam, hityam, satyam, all this should be fulfilled. Anudvigakara also. Once all these are done, tathocha shreyo bhavishyati. Therefore, he says that when you first talk, you talk to somebody and say first, I'm going to say something, but please don't get upset. These are things you have to do. And why you have to do? Because it's beneficial for you today and it will also be beneficial for you in the future. Shreyo bhavishyati. In future also, it will be beneficial. Therefore, you are telling him that what I am telling you is for your own good. But remember that when you are saying all this, even then, what is one primary thing you have to do for it to be, effective? You may be saying things for the benefit of the other person also, for his future benefit, for his current benefit, whatever advice you are giving is good. But remember, this cannot be forced. So ultimately, you have to do what
Leave it.
Krishna said. What Krishna said to Arjuna in the end?
I have told you whatever.
Yatha yogyam tadha guru.
I have told you whatever is to be done. You do whatever you think is right after thinking about it. Right? So this is what you do when you advise. And when you leave the choice, that person cannot come back to you and say that, you made me do it, so I went wrong. The choice is yours. Make it very clear. This is the pros and the cons. And therefore, please do it.
I think it's very important to build first the point you raised about do you have the right, and right actually comes from the fact that have you built that kind of relationship and trust that
Very right. If you are a parent, that right you are born with, because even society would like you to exercise that right to keep your children, within the norms. Once the child is 18, you no longer have that right. Then you can only advise. But the idea here is other other relationships, whether it be a student, is your just being a teacher doesn't give you the right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
That bonding has to be there. That the student should come and look at you as somebody who will advise him without any preconceived conditions. Which let me tell you, the normally children when they talk to parents, there is a vested interest involved of the parents. So the only person whom really speaking a child can look up to as not having vested interest is the teacher. Is it true?
Yes, unfortunately.
Therefore, it's very important for a teacher to be in such a position that number one, is beyond reproach. Number two, he is seen as objective. Number three, he is seen as giving advice and then backing off after saying that you do. If you think it is right, you do. If you don't think it is right, you don't do. And number four, irrespective of whether that person follows your advice or not, the
Make it.
teacher's relationship does not change, which doesn't happen with parents. So, very important idea is being conveyed here.
Yeah, absolutely. So beautiful.
Okay. Now, we look at the 16th verse. Manah prasada saumyatvam
Manah prasada
prasada
saumyatvam
saumyatvam
maunam atma vinigraha
maunam atma vinigraha
avasamshuddhirityetat
bhava
Bhavasamshuddhiryetat
samshuddhiryetat
tapomanasamuchyate.
tapomana samuchyate.
So, manah prasadaha. Shankara says manah prasadaha has to be taken as manasaha prashanti. And what is manasaha prashanti? Quietness of mind. And what is quietness of mind? It's very easy to say, keep your mind quiet. Right? So Shankara adds further. Swachhatha apadanam. Trying to keep the mind free of negative thoughts. He says, trying to keep the mind clean. Swachhatha. So Swachhatha is free of negative thoughts. So free from stress and strain, free from anger, free from rust, free from regrets about the past, free from worry about the future, you know. And the important part is trying to keep the mind. Why trying? Because you can only try. With sufficient practice, you will be able to have success in this. But keeping the mind quiet and free is one of the most difficult parts of the Shastri. Okay. And we have seen this idea several times in the Bhagavad Gita. Samatvam yoga vachyate, sukha dukhe same kritva, labha labho jaya jau. So many things. So disturbances can come from anywhere, right? And how do these disturbing thoughts get activated? From vasanas? Oh, vasanas are thoughts in your subconscious mind over which you have no control. Very often you don't even know whether vasanas are there or not. It's only when the vasana activates that you understand that there is a vasana because a thought has arrived, right? So, in case of such vasana activated thoughts, you cannot stop those thoughts from coming. Can you? No, because you don't know thoughts were there. And the activation of vasana takes place through some external stimulus, again, over which you have no control, since you don't know which stimuli will touch which vasana. What can you therefore do?
You cannot
Once,
perpetuate it. You control.
once the vasana comes, first is don't blame yourself. When the vasana gets activated and a negative thought lands up in your mind, first and foremost is not to blame yourself because it's a vasana, it's outside your control. The stimulus was outside your control. What you can do is watch that thought and don't nourish it. ensure that the thought is dismissed. Okay. Now, then we said two things. One is regrets about the past and worries about the future. So, past is in terms of vasanas. What about the future? So, Shastra says we are not saying do not plan for the future. What is the, but do not worry. Plan for the future, but do not worry. What is the difference between planning and worrying?
One is action oriented, the other is thought, just thinking about it.
Sorry, come again.
One is action, planning is action oriented.
And
Worrying about it is a mental process, just going round in circles without.
Attachment to the outcome brings
a very
worry.
important concept which I've talked about in the past, between the difference between the two. What is that?
Ishwar Prasada Bhavana?
No, karta and bhokta. That.
Planning is an activity which can be scheduled. You can always say every morning between 7 and 7:30, I will plan my activities for the morning. But you cannot say that I will worry only between 7 and 7:30. What's the difference?
Worry can happen anytime, but planning you will do it on a specific time and you can
You have a control over
convince.
planning, whereas worry,
Control
we have no
yourself.
control.
Exactly. So worrying is involuntary activity. Planning is voluntary, planned, and scheduled. Therefore, planning will always improve your efficiency in whatever you're doing. While worrying, what it does, it occupies one part of your mind with the worry. Therefore, when you're doing something, if you're worrying about its effectiveness, your whole mind is not available to you. And the more the worry, the less the mind is available to you. And therefore, worrying actually cuts down on our efficiency. Therefore, the idea is plan. Let planning be a deliberate activity. But do not worry. What is the worry about? About things which cannot be foreseen, things which I cannot plan at all. And therefore, instead of worrying for that, what should I do? Yat yat bhavyam bhavat bhagwan purva karma. What does that mean? Yat yat bhavyam bhavat bhagwan purva karmanurupam. It's got a very important principle underlying it. This
Whatever
bhavatyam
Happens, let it happen according to
let
my
it happen, but according to my
karma.
karma.
purpose.
It'll happen only according to your karma anyway, but it's just reminding the Lord. You don't do it randomly. So yat yat bhavyam bhavatu bhagwan. Whatever has to happen, oh Lord, let it happen. Please remember, purva karmanurupam. Don't give me somebody else's karma. So that's the law of nature. Bhavitavyam bhavati eva. Whatever has to happen will happen. And therefore, take the each day as it comes. Right? Therefore, if you are giving the analogy of a boat and your boat is drifting in the sea of life, let us say, ocean of life, then make sure that you have a hold on the rudder. Right? So that rudder is in Hindi, I think it's called patwara. You can correct me. Patwara is a rudder. Okay. And therefore, you should recognize that there will be some events which will happen, but for which you have not planned because you did not envisage that. Therefore, only bhavattavyam bhaviti eva. Whatever happens, let it happen. And therefore, train my mind to be prepared for surprises. You have to remember that Ishvara will always accept you. Ishvara's acceptance of us is absolutely unconditional. I don't have to be rich for that. I don't have to be Bill Gates for that. I don't have to have to Einstein's IQ for that. Whatever I am, Ishvara will help me. And therefore, that is one. Pavittavyam bhavati eva. Accept that whatever has to happen will happen. One important law for my peace of mind. Another important law is stated, Atita na anusmaran. Do not brood over the past. Atita, past, na anusmaran. Do not unnecessarily bring up the past in your mind and regret about it. Because that is why it's called the past. It's over. No action in the present can touch the past. And therefore, learning from the past always increases my present efficiency. But regretting the past, it reduces my present efficiency. Therefore, keep the past for learning only. Keep the future for planning only. What about the present?
For action.
Action.
For living only, right? For actions only. Therefore, the very important ideas which are being thought about over here. I use the past for learning. I use the future for planning. And I use the present for living, for doing my current actions. Remember that the present alone is available for Agami Karma. You cannot do karma in the past. You cannot do karma in the present. And therefore, Manaha Prasadaha is the relaxed condition of the mind. Then the next word is Saumyatvam. Saumyatvam is gentleness of the mind. What is the difference between Saumyatvam and Mana Prasadaha? Mana Prasadaha is the internal condition, a relaxed condition of the mind. Saumyatvam is the external expression in your dealings with others of that internal relaxed condition. So Saumyatvam is the mind which others see when they interact with you. Mana Prasadaha is the internal condition. So Mana
So
Prasadaha
in
is
other
internal
words,
condition. Yeah.
sorry. So in other words, Saumyatvam is possible only Mana Prasadaha status is achieved, sort of.
Obviously, yes, because it is the external condition. It is what others see your mind as. Samitvam is what others see your mind as. Anaprasadaha is what you see your mind as. Right? And that is why we say, watch your thoughts. Because thoughts will transform into words, and words will transform into actions. So, rude thoughts, bad thoughts, they result in bad words and bad actions. Therefore, this kaika tapas, bodily tapas, and vachika tapas, control over my words, is possible only if I have learned to handle the mind. That is why in the Bhagavad Gita, as well as other texts like Yoga Shastram, there is so much focus on how to handle your mind. Okay. Now, since Saumitvam talking about, Shankara gives a very beautiful definition. In Sanskrit, I'm sure you'll understand. Saumitvam, he says, Mukkhadi prasadadi karya antakaranasya vritti. What does it mean? Those antakaranasya vritti, those thoughts in the mind, antakaranasya vritti, those thoughts in the mind which lead to mukkhadi prasadi karya, which leads to a face which is pleasant. What a beautiful definition. Samyata means those thoughts which you have in your mind, which finally make your face appear pleasant to others. Okay. Now, there is a commentator called Anandagiri also, who also gives a very nice explanation. He says that Saumyatvam means that thinking of everyone's welfare all the time and therefore never thinking of anything which will cause harm to them. Very different explanation. But both together rounds off our understanding of Saumyatvam. But remember, Saumyatvam is always external. If you have to come to that, you have to learn to have a quiet and relaxed mind. Then the last word, Maunam, Atma, Vinigraha. Maunam is what? Silence. You don't necessarily have to be silent for the whole day, right? You can be silent, let us say, 15 minutes, half an hour. And if you find it difficult, get up at 4 o'clock like I do and be silent till 6 because there's nobody to talk to until that time. What do you say? Okay. Now there comes the question. What is the topic we are discussing?
Words.
Vaktapas.
Vak-
Vaktapas.
Should it not be
Tapas.
under verse 15 then? Why bring it here? Because here it is mind. Vaktapas was verse 15. Here, Manaprasadaha. It's all mind. Mind. Why bring it here? These questions will not occur to us, okay? But it
The,
occurs to Shankara, it occurs.
the
What is the
origin
reason?
of words is the mind.
Come again?
Is the origin of all the words because of the mind? The thoughts?
Not exactly. What Shankara says is that Maunam Vanga Niyama Api Manaha Sanyam Purvako Bhavati. Maunam is what? Verbal silence. But if the silence has to be really verbal, he says, Mana Sanyam Purvaka Bhavati. You have to have a mind which is restraint, mind which is silence. So, in other words, to do to engage in verbal silence in Maunam, it has to be preceded by mental silence.
How nice.
Right? And remember that if you have seen people being, what do you call, there are people in many ashrams I have seen, there are people who roam around with a small little chit, Maunam, in silence. Right? But they do everything. They'll point out, I want this, I point out, I want that. So is the mind silent or not?
No.
And therefore
No.
unless you follow this definition, that before the verbal silence, get into mental silence. Therefore, it's not so simple. Maunam is not a very simple thing. Because to get into mental silence, you require years of proper meditation, concentration meditation.
It's like even
That
doing some like Shanti se baithe ho, you're doing pranayam and all, but your mind is active all the time.
Exactly.
And
That
it
is why, when you do prayers, morning prayers, I suppose many of you do, right? Or meditation, many of you do. When the meditation is over, most of us keep an alarm, right? Because we have other things to do. I also keep an alarm because I meditate 1 hour and that at the end of 1 hour, things have to happen, like milkman will come, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So at the end of that 1 hour or half an hour or 20 minutes, whatever you do, don't get up immediately. When the alarm goes, switch it off. Just sit.
I know.
Because that is the mental silence.
Exactly.
Right? Now, what is another way of saying, thinking about mental silence? You are sitting quietly in meditation or you are trying to meditate, whatever. Will your mind be free of thoughts?
Not always.
If you have been for a proper guided meditation session, How does it start? They say that you sit in a comfortable posture, relax your muscles, close your eyes, breathe deeply. What is the next instruction? Usually,
Imagine that you.
no. Next instruction is don't deliberately think. Whatever thoughts are coming up, remember thoughts will bubble up, right?
Mm.
Normally, you do not recognize the presence of thoughts. Why? Because you are engaging with the world. Your sense organs are operating. And since the focus remains on the sense organs and the sense objects, what is happening is that you are not thinking about the thoughts or aware of your thoughts. But when you have closed off that avenue, you are not letting the mind interact through the sense organs. Then what is happening? Thoughts will continue to occur. And therefore, that is the next instruction. Usually, they say that close your
Yeah.
eyes, take deep breaths. Do not try to force your thoughts to silence. If you have to have a silent mind completely, the easiest option is to, you know, sushupti avastha. It's not going to happen. But in meditation, what you can do is let the thoughts come because you can't stop it anyway. What should you do is watch those thoughts. That's the most common instruction. Watch your thoughts. Don't involve yourself with the thoughts. So don't judge. Don't say this thought is good, this thought is bad, therefore I am good, therefore I am bad. Just be aware of the thought. If some beautiful thoughts come, don't pat yourself on the back. You're talking about involuntary thoughts. Don't praise yourself because the thoughts are good. If negative thoughts come, don't feel guilty and don't try to push the thoughts from your mind. This is the concept of Sakshi Bhava. You are in the witness consciousness principle. It is not absolute mental silence. It is not thoughtlessness, right? But it is freedom from deliberate thinking. You are not trying to think about any particular subject. You are letting the mind unrestrained and yet not involving yourself with any thought. Remember, the moment you pick up a thought and nourish it or connect it somewhere, you have broken this process. So, this not nourishing the thoughts, this is the mental silence also. Maunam, mental maunam. So, at the vak level, you can have maunam. At the vak level, you might want to say something to somebody which may be pleasant or unpleasant, usually unpleasant, but you restrain yourself. That is vachika maunam. But that maunam is not real maunam until there is a manasika maunam also. So, you know, told in English, when I don't want, when I want to say something and don't say it, that is vachika maunam. But when that need to say something, that itself has been addressed by me. I don't feel the need to say something. That is manasika maunam. All of us would have, it's not something very unique. All of us who have taken a nice holiday next to the beach or next to the mountains, think back to those times when you woke up, looked outside. There was nothing to be said.
Mm.
You didn't need to say anything to anybody. That is this not having the need to say something. It's not suppression. The need itself is not there. And Madhusudana Saraswati, he has written a very nice commentary in Gita. He says, Maunam is munehe bhavaha. The attitude of a muni, that is called maunam. The function of a Muni. Bhavaha can mean function also. The function of a Muni is called Manam. And what is the function of a Muni? Mananat Munihi, which is Nididhyasana. Therefore, Madhusudana Saraswati, he doesn't take the same meaning that we have taken. That Manasika Manam is that the need not to talk. The need is not felt to talk. That is what we said. But Madhusudana Saraswati says he equates Manam to Nididhyasana. We can take both meanings. Literally speaking, Nididhyasana, if you are saying that you are Brahman, if you are thinking that you are Brahman, then there really is no need to say anything to anybody. Okay, then
What is what is a Muni and a Rishi? Are they the same or they are different?
Muni is a very technical definition. If you are in silence all the time, you are a Muni. But yes, normally they take it as Rishi. This is not really true. I don't know if you have any South Indian friends, when the husband is one who doesn't talk, a lot of Mallus are there who don't talk at all. So their wives refer to them as Muni. Not because they're real Munis, because they don't open their mouths. So Muni is one who doesn't talk.
Yeah, but I remember this because in Rishikesh we have a place dedicated to Munis. So I was
Muni Kireti, yes.
Muni ki Reti. So I was like connecting with that.
That is a place where in the olden days, all the rishis are supposed to do sadhana, meditation. So all people don't talk over there. Didn't talk. Now, of course, there's no reti left.
Does it refer to Rishi means Rishikesh, Indriya something? The one who's harnessing Indriyas?
Rishikeshaha is what? Rishika Ishaha.
Ishwar of Indriya.
Ishvara of Rishikesha. Rishika Ishvara, the Lord of Indriyas. We saw this in chapter 2 Bhagavad Gita. Okay. The next one is Atma Vinigraha. So Shankara simply says Atma Vinigraha. Atma has to be taken as what? Mana, the mind. And Vinigraha means Nirodha, restraint. Therefore, Atma Vinigraha means mastery over the mind or restraint over the mind. But earlier we said that Maunam is mental restraint. Then why are you saying that mastery over the mind is mental restraint? Shankara says yes. But earlier on, we talked about mental restraint specifically in connection with the discipline of speech. But here, in this last word of Atmanigraha, it means a general restraint, right? Covering not only the mind, but covering karmendriyas and jnanendriyas also. This is what is the Shankaracharya's comment. So if you're looking at what is mental restraint, what is general restraint, that you have to see. Earlier we talked about restraint in connection with speech only and maybe mind. But here is restraint in connection with karmendriyas and jnanendriyas also. Okay. Then bhava samshuddhihi. So bhava samshuddhihi, Shankara says bhavaha here means the motive. And samshuddhihi means purity. So action should be free from motives. In other words, you should not have a hidden agenda, which we call arjavam. Arjavam is the harmony of thoughts, words, and actions. Right? But Shankara uses a very beautiful word here. He says, Vyavahara kale, during the time when you are having interactions, amaya vitvam. Amaya Vitvam is a very beautiful word. Its root is the word Mayavi. Who is a Mayavi?
The
The magician.
magician.
Mayavi is a magician. What is the magician's job?
To create unreal things or imagination.
In other words, to deceive you.
Yeah.
Right? So, whatever the magician does, remember, he is trying to deceive you, perceive something which he is not doing. Right? Therefore, Mayavi means the one who deceives. And so he says, Shankara says, Amaya Vitvam, absence of the intent to deceive anybody. So he is free from deceit during Vivahara Kale in any actions, any transactions with the world. So this alertness has to be maintained throughout the waking state, Jagrata Avastha, in every activity that you undertake. So with this, we have finished the threefold division of tapas, which is based on kaika, vachika, and manasika. Now what happens is we would think that, Krishna has finished with tapas. But Krishna has not finished with tapas because the basic division is what?
Guna based.
Guna based. So here he has only done the division based on the type of action. So then now he takes up the division based on the gunas. So we will go to the next verse number 17. Shraddhaya paraya taptam
Shraddhaya paraya taptam
tapastatrividham naraihi
tapastvidam naraihi
afalakankshabhiryuktaihi
afalakankshabhiyuktaihi
satvikam parijakshate.
satvikam parichakshate.
Shankara in his commentary points this out, saying that the three types of tapas, which have been mentioned earlier by Krishna, can be further subdivided by gunas. So he says tat trividam tapaha. The tat trividam tapaha, those three types of tapaha, which is referring to the mention of the tapaha based on kaika, vachika, manasika activities. He says satvikam parichakshate can be taken as in terms of the three gunas also. And satvikam parichakshate, satvika tapas is defined to be that which fulfills the following conditions. What are they? Paraya shraddhaya. Shraddhaya means astika buddhaya. Do I need to explain that? What is astika buddhi?
Vedas.
Beg your pardon?
Believing in the Vedas, Ishvara.
With faith in Shastra. Astika buddhi means you are a astika. If you are astika, it means you accept Veda as pramana. Right? So Shraddhaya means astika buddhaya, person who has got faith in Shastram because he accepts Shastram as pramanam. And therefore, paraya means lot, prakrishtaya, immense, extreme. So paraya Shraddhaya means extreme faith in the Shastras. Shraddha should be so strong, so intense, that when people challenge me or mock me, there should be no disturbance in my mind. That strong your Shraddha should be. Even if you don't go to refute that person, you should be able to accept that there are people who are not astikas, and that is not part of my problem. Therefore, he is practicing the tapas because of what? Because of the value which he has for the Shastra, which prescribes this tapas. Right? It's a very important idea. I am practicing some tapas which Shastra is prescribing solely because Shastra is prescribing. And I think that when Shastra says something is good for me, it is good for me. Shankara says somewhere else, that Shastra is equivalent to 1,000 mothers. A mother will always want what is good for you. What to talk about Shastra? It's like 1,000 mothers you are having. What amount of good they will want for you. Therefore, I am practicing this tapa, this austerity, not for any reason, simply because I have faith in the Shastra. So, not even because of peer pressure, not even because of some problem in my health, not even because my acharya says you should practice. That is not the reason for this tapas. This
Because I
tapas is practiced because I have faith in Shastra. Yeah, somebody said something?
no, I just said because I believe in it.
Because you believe in it. Right, that's the first condition. The second condition is afala kangshibi. Aphalam kangshibi. Without expectation of any phalam, of any result for the tapas. Which makes it what kind of karma? It's a nishkama karma.
Yeah.
Right? And this is mentioned earlier also. Panchamaha yajna rupa nishkama karmani. All the Panchamaha yajnas are nishkama karma. Repeatedly mentioned by Krishna all the way from the second chapter.
So
Yogastha guru karmani sangam tekpa dhananjaya. Shastra is saying practice tapas, not as a sadhana. Don't think it's a sadhana. Why? Because if you have a sadhana, then sangam tektva is not there. Because you have a sadhyam. There is some benefit expected. And therefore practice it just for its own sake. In fact, somewhere in Shastra, I have forgotten where, it says that follow dharma not for the sake of moksha. Follow dharma for dharma's own sake. And when you do that, what will happen? By following dharma, you will get Chitta Shuddhi. That Chitta Shuddhi will give you enough punyam. That punyam will give you your teacher. And that punyam will give you the Shastra. And the teaching will give you moksha. So Yuktaihi means people who are committed. People who practice the tapas out of conviction about the Shastram, about the benefits of the Shastram. The Shastram is good for you. And taptam yat tapaha, that tapas which is practiced in this manner. How? Because Shastram says so. Without looking at the benefits. Purely as obeying Shastra. That is called Satvikam Parichakshate. That is called Satvika Tapas. Okay, any questions so far?
No.
Right, I think we have time for one more verse. Let's see. Verse number 18. Satkaramana pujartham
Sarkaramaanapujartham
tapodambhena chaivayat
Dambhena chaiva yat
kriyate tadiha proktam
Kriyate
kriyate tadiha proktam
rajasam chalamadhruvam.
rajasam
Rajasam
chalamadhruvam.
chalamadhruvam.
So, Rajasika tapas. The next discussion based on the next guna, Rajas. Yat kriyate. Rajasika tapas is that tapas, yat kriyate, which is done by these people fulfilling the following conditions. Satkaraha. Satkaraha is what?
for respect.
For praise from others.
Others.
Okay, so Shankara writes, Sadhu ayam tapasvi brahmanaha. So praise in the form of this man is a great sadhu and is a great brahmana or a great tapasvi. So he wants to have this praise from others. So if you are doing that with that expectation, then that is Rajasika tapas. Expectation of praise. Then manam. Manam is what? Somebody should come and give
Worship.
namaskara to me. Right? Praise me. But the difference is earlier it is verbal praise. Here it is physical action. Manam means you come and do namaskara, touch my feet, etc. Or you should do puja. Puja means prada pralakshana, washing the feet, pada pralakshana, archana, offering flowers, etc., offering foods, all these things. Right. So these are expectations. One expectation is that people should praise me. Another expectation is that people should come and touch my feet, do namaskara to me. A third expectation is people should come and say, I'm a great man, so wash my feet before entering the house, offer me flowers, offer me food. And therefore, yat kriyate dambhena. In one sentence, he covers all the activities. Is that which is done with dambaha. Dambaha is pomp, pretension, ostentatious, right? A very obvious way of trying to make people notice that I'm a great man. And he says, Rajasam Proktam Ehach Eva. This is called Rajasika Tapas. What is the problem with this Rajasika Tapas? Adhruvam. It is not lasting. Because some people will praise you, some people will not praise you, and even some people who praise you today will not come to praise you tomorrow. So Adhruvam. The phalam is not lasting. And Chalam. Chalam is the phalam is unsteady. It varies. Some people may praise you lots and lots. Some people may have very lukewarm praise. So all these kind of kamya karmas, they can produce only anitya phalam, unsteady because it goes away. So chalam here means anityam. Anityam means which will not stay for long, either in quality or quantity. So with this, we'll stop for today. Any questions? All very, very beautiful verses. Actually, 16 and 17 chapters should come in the very beginning, in my personal view.
After every chapter.
Yeah, after every chapter, you should revise 16 and 17 chapters.
Actually.
Anyway.
Probably the Krishna is only summarizing what he's been saying at different places, and he's just putting it in a kind of a consolidated, summarized form, because it's not as if he hasn't mentioned all these things before.
Not in such detail. So ideally, in a Gita class, you should give 16, 17 first, and then talk about the rest. Because having said the foundation, Chitta Shuddhi, then only you should come to the rest. But of course, we can't question Krishna, right? So we just keep quiet.
So that's what I'm doing. I believe
Takeaways.
I believe in what he's doing. He had a reason.
He had a reason, yes. And maybe people were more sattvic those days, huh?
Beautifully explained.
I know. Actually, it's also like, primarily if we were just doing it ourselves, for example, when it started reading 16, then I thought, ab isme kya naya hai?
मालूम पड़ेगा ना क्या नया.
So, but the way you explained it, and so much in details, that is when you realize there is so much depth that you would have missed out if you had just stayed with what you were thinking.
I would have missed out had I not had a teacher. Anybody. The whole thing comes from the parampara. Only the parampara is to be credited for all this.
So then what Krishna is saying, don't just think that you know it all. You have to stay in the parampara.
Stay in the parampara. With this, we'll stop for today. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience. Om